What if I told you that some people, after coming back from the brink of death, describe experiences so vivid, so extraordinary, that they challenge everything we think we know about life and death? Imagine your heart stops, and suddenly you're no longer in your body but floating above it, watching doctors work frantically to revive you. You're drawn towards a brilliant light, surrounded by an overwhelming sense of love and peace, only to be pulled back to your body at the last moment. Could this be more than just a hallucination? Could it be a glimpse into what lies beyond? In today's video, we're diving into the incredible phenomenon of near-death experiences, or NDEs. From the mind-blowing similarities across countless reports to cases that defy logic, NDEs might just be the most compelling evidence that consciousness persists after death. Stay with us until the end. You won't believe the stories we're about to share. But let's start with a quick introduction to the phenomenon. NDEs are events reported by people who have been declared clinically dead for a brief time, only to come back with astonishing stories of what they experienced while their bodies were lifeless. These experiences transcend cultures, religions, and belief systems, painting a picture of something truly extraordinary that awaits us all. People who go through NDEs often describe sensations that feel more real than anything they've ever encountered. Despite being unconscious or even without a heartbeat, these individuals report a journey that defies the boundaries of the physical world. So what exactly are these experiences, and why do they share so many incredible features? Let's dive into 5 fascinating commonalities that many near-death experiences share. Perhaps the most famous aspect of NDEs is the tunnel of light. People consistently describe being drawn towards a bright but beautifully calming light at the end of a tunnel. This light isn't blinding. It's described as warm, welcoming, and filled with an indescribable sense of peace. Many people who have had an NDE also describe an overwhelming feeling of unconditional love, something that's far beyond what we experience in our everyday lives. It's a love so pure, it's beyond words, completely transformative. Imagine feeling like you're finally home, like everything is exactly as it should be, and you are completely accepted just as you are. This sense of unconditional love often makes it incredibly difficult for the experiencer to return to their physical body. They simply don't want to leave this incredible state of being. Another common element of NDEs is the out-of-body experience. Imagine looking down and seeing yourself on the operating table, surrounded by doctors trying desperately to revive you. You're no longer in your body, but rather observing everything from above. You can hear the doctors talking, you can see the worry on their faces, and yet you're not afraid. In fact, many report feeling detached, almost serenely curious about what's happening. In some NDEs, people experience what is often called a life review. This is where you relive significant moments from your life, not just as you remember them, but from the perspectives of everyone involved. You feel the emotions of others, see the ripple effects of your actions, and gain a profound understanding of how every action, no matter how small, shapes the world around you. It's a moment of incredible clarity and insight, often leading to a deep sense of understanding and sometimes regret for things left unsaid or undone. Another astonishing aspect of NDEs is the presence of beings of light or deceased loved ones. These entities are often described as guides or messengers, helping the person through their experience. They radiate love, wisdom, and understanding, sometimes communicating telepathically. People who have NDEs often describe encounters with relatives or friends who have passed away, feeling their presence as comforting and familiar. This encounter can be profoundly moving, offering both closure and a sense of reassurance that we are never truly alone. Some scientists have questioned whether these experiences could be simple hallucinations, a result of the brain coping with trauma. But the answer can't be so simple. There are numerous cases where people who experienced an NDE were able to recount mind-blowing details that they couldn't possibly have known unless they truly had a metaphysical experience. What follows are some incredible but well-documented accounts. First, there's the story of Pam Reynolds, perhaps one of the most famous NDE cases. In 1991, Pam had an NDE during a complicated brain surgery that required her body temperature to be lowered, her heartbeat to be stopped, and her brain activity to be flatlined. Despite being clinically dead, Pam had an out-of-body experience that allowed her to observe what was happening around her in the operating room. When Pam woke up after her operation, she described details of her surgery with astonishing accuracy. She recounted conversations between the operating medical staff and described specific instruments used, even though she should have had no awareness during the procedure. How could she know these things unless her out-of-body experience was real? It's one of the most compelling cases that challenge our understanding of consciousness. Then we have Dr. Mary Neal, an orthopedic spine surgeon who drowned while kayaking in Chile. Mary had been pinned under a waterfall and left with no oxygen for nearly 30 minutes. During her NDE, she found herself in a place of indescribable beauty, surrounded by spiritual beings who filled her with a profound sense of peace and love. More incredibly, Dr. Neal had a premonition of her son's death, a tragedy that indeed occurred exactly as she foresaw. Her story has been widely documented, and Mary also wrote a detailed account of her experience in her memoir titled To Heaven and Back. As a respected medical professional, her testimony carries significant weight in discussions on NDEs. Another remarkable story is that of Tony Meo. In 1993, his heart stopped for 30 minutes during an emergency open-heart surgery in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. During his NDE, Tony had an out-of-body experience and found himself in the hospital waiting room where he saw his wife crying on the phone. Tony was from Florida, and after wishing he could be back home, he found himself suddenly there, over 1,000 miles away. He saw that the house-sitter had left mail scattered on his dining room table, including a Danish office supply catalog he had never ordered. Tony survived the surgery and eventually went back home with his wife. To everyone's amazement, everything Tony saw during his experience, including the Danish catalog, was exactly as he had described. Finally, let's not forget the many cases of blind individuals who, during their NDEs, report seeing the world for the first time. This is, for example, the case of Vicki Umipeg Noratuk. Vicki was born blind and had never experienced vision in her life. However, during her NDE, which occurred in 1973 after a car accident, she reported seeing for the first time. In her NDE, Vicki described rising out of her body and looking down at the scene of the accident. She then saw her own body in the emergency room and the surrounding environment in great detail. Vicki also described a transcendent experience in which she found herself surrounded by beautiful trees and flowers and felt enveloped in love. There she encountered spiritual beings and went through a life review where she saw the repercussions of her actions on others. After her life review, Vicki was told by a spiritual being she identified as Jesus that it was not her time yet. She had to go back because she still had much to learn and teach about loving and forgiving. Despite being born blind, Vicki reported seeing colors, objects, and light in ways she had never experienced. There are many other cases like these, where the people who had a near-death experience recount details that they couldn't have possibly known unless their consciousness had truly separated from the physical body. These astonishing stories raise profound questions about what happens after death and what consciousness truly is. How is it possible that people who were clinically dead could recall details and experiences that defy explanation? How can they describe things with such incredible clarity and consistency, despite their bodies being unresponsive? The striking commonalities in NDEs across different cultures, ages, and belief systems suggest that there is something universal about these experiences. These glimpses of the afterlife appear to be genuine peeks behind the curtain of death. They provide evidence that our consciousness exists beyond the physical realm, independent of our bodies. While science is still grappling with what consciousness actually is, these astonishing experiences suggest that the brain may not actually be the seat of our consciousness, but merely a receiver, tuning into something far greater. The more we explore near-death experiences, the more we realize how much we don't know about life, death, and everything in between. These incredible stories and the common threads that bind them together suggest that there is more to our existence than what meets the eye. Is there life after death? The data from NDEs certainly suggests that consciousness doesn't just fade away when the body ceases to function. It's a fascinating area of study that challenges our understanding of reality and invites us to explore the astonishing mysteries of the human mind. But NDEs also show us something else, that we are alive for a purpose, that every action we take has an impact on those around us, and that we are all here to make a difference in the world we live in. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed watching this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe with all notifications on, so that you won't miss any of our future uploads. Until next time.